All right. So here we got half a beef. This one's an ox. Just received it from the butcher house. And then we're gonna see how she's looking and get her into the fridge for some curing. And then we'll first go through the details on these little notes here. Wow, so 411 kilo young ox, and it's got an R rating, which is the best. We like that. Butchered on the 27th, 3 days ago, meaning that we're gonna have probably let it hang for another 7 days, 2.5 degrees to 3 degrees. Then we get that perfect tender meat. You out of the way. So here you come a little closer and I can share some insights where we are. Here's the front and this is going towards the back. So we're counting ribs 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, meaning that the next section here is the prime rib, the tomahawk, the entrecote, whatever you want to call it. The tastiest part of the animal is what I call it. Well, one of them. So typically, to make this easier for me to manually lift it into the fridge, we cut it right here. So again, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. A little more cutting here. There we go. Little chiropractic there. There we go, tomahawk. There we go. Keep the light on. So just quickly what we have here, shank, shoulder, neck, what's left here. One of my also favorite parts, the delmonical section. Here you have the brisket, and underneath here, flat iron. And then you have the chuck here, which is not really used so much in Norway. We use this whole area, but the center of the chuck is a really, really good slow cooking roast. All right, and then we gotta keep splitting this a little bit. I could use the bandsaw, but then I have to clean the bandsaw and it takes a while. So sometimes you just do it like this. Here's a great little tool. Spare your fingers. See, all this stuff's coming out underneath here. That's that brisket. Come on, there we go. Or you can make short ribs, you can do whatever, but now I'm cutting it down the way that I usually do it for my products. That. I'm just going to keep getting this little muscle here off so we can expose this half of the spine that's left. So the nice thing right now in the winter, which is both nice and sometimes not so nice, that the house here holds about 1 degree. So it's colder here than in the fridge itself. It makes for great hygienic products without drama. So then we're gonna get off the rest of the ribs and the feather bones on this side. And we go along the top rib into here, out underneath here. And this is a little bit, like all this gets a lot easier with less cutting if you use the bandsaw, but I kind of like this technique as well. And if you don't have a bandsaw, then you're stuck with this technique, sort of. I mean, there's many ways to slice it and dice it. And this way too is great because you have a pretty good yield on all the steaks when you cut it this way. Go. We're going to loosen the rest of the neck off. See, if you're at home wondering if you should get one of these and why, these hooks, they really, like save your fingers, but they also save your tendons. So you have like a good grip here instead of like having to grip on with your hand all the time. And there's that. Beef neck. Here's the Delmonico section, where it comes from the yellow cord on the neck. And then when that transfers into the main loin, this is where the back strap sort of ends its travel towards its neck. So we're just going to take the whole thing off with the chuck, just to ease on the weight so that I can lift this by hand up into the fridge. And here's a little bit like a blind zone here to know sort of where all the seams go. But after a couple of tries, it's easy to recognize where to go. This is a pretty big dude. So you have a big old chuck. And that's the cool thing about stripping down all these animals. It's like very large amount of individual difference. But when they come rated with an R, it usually means big steaks. A little bit cutting into the Sierra, but doesn't matter. I put a lot of this stuff into my grind to make the burgers taste juicy and deal with high temperatures without going dry. Wow. And then we're going to flip off the brisket, go into the armpit, and just sort of go around that way. Some people might look at me now and go like, this guy doesn't know how to cut out a brisket. But they might partly be right, because I've just been standing here learning on my own. But it's at least a process that gives me the cuts that I like. And don't hate on me now, but I'm putting the brisket right in my grind so that my burgers taste like brisket. And then last little piece to come off today is the shank. Shank can also be a difficult one in the beginning. But you sort of want to just find the joint. It sits in here. And just recognizing where that tendon goes. Here she comes. Not a perfect cut there, but it will definitely do the trick. Ooh, it's like training. Get hot in here. There we go, that's a quarter ox in pieces. Into the fridge we go. There. Okay, that's piece number 1. I'm going to repeat the process and do piece number 2. The next part is a little easier on the whole training part of things. So now we're going to hang it. Brisket. Hang it right there. All right, that's it. Seven days has passed. Let's go see what's going on in here. And we'll strip it down and make some products. See here. Smells really good. And the fun fact of the day is that it's now warmer in here than it is in the facilities. We had 0.4 degrees outside, and here it's 3.5. It's looking good. We'll get to the table, start cutting. So here we are at the bench. Sort of put it together in the same order that I cut it apart. Here are the bones, the brisket, here are the Delmonico and the chuck. Then we have the neck bone, the shank, what's left of the shoulder with the top blade roast, and the flat irons, the favorite. And also another favorite, the tomahawks. So we're going to start cutting this down. We can start here with the chuck section. So this little flap here, some might call it the prime rib, but it's not really, because here you have more muscle than the previous steak. But I love this piece. It really cooks well as a whole steak. It's really juicy, it's full of flavor. We don't need the yellow cord though. That goes off. And we'll separate that later. So here you have what we call in Norwegian the high part of the back. Inside here is that really solid muscle, the chuck roast. We're going to use this whole piece for burgers. Because here in Norway, people like burgers more than anything. And a good juicy burger with all the meat on, instead of just sinew and stuff like that. It really makes the difference. Anyway, we're going to clean it right up here. Just get that yellow cord away. Comes off fairly easy. So here you have it. It's a fantastic piece to cook. So we're going to strip this down for the grinder. I've got a fairly small grinder here. So I'm going to make these nice long strips for it to fit into it. This would also be fantastic stew meat. This part though, I wouldn't care too much about it. Like always would be a grind, but the rest of it, beautiful meat. Some of the best meat on the whole animal, if you ask me. This is really good sign. You can see here the inner muscular fat pockets. It really shows that this guy, he lived well. Probably in the warm barn with the farmer that cared and all of that. So here we're at the last part of the brisket. It's a beautiful brisket, and it's a really good piece to smoke and do all the things with. Here we just put it in the burger because it makes the burger so much better. And yeah, it's just like, you know, it's a little sad to put this beautiful piece into the grind, but then again, the Norwegian public has spoken. They like burgers. And so do I, so then it doesn't feel that sad to put it in there. Look at this, beautiful. Lots of inner muscular fat pockets, long fibers. That's where all the juice and all the taste is. So that's the brisket. Then we can cut out the bones. I just kind of don't get too far in there, but I like to get a little bit of it out. Save a little bit of that meat too for the broth and all that process. So doing this, it's extremely important not to get violent with the knife. Just kind of let the knife do the job. If you're forcing it, at one point, you might slip. And when you slip, you might get hurt. I've tried, and it sucks. So I recommend take it easy and learn the structure of the bones. Scrape and get your profit. And also, if you're just home cooking, this is where you get your taste. There's a lot of good taste here. So could scrape that, but like I said, I'll leave that for the broth. Here you have a piece of the flank steak stuck here. It's a great little piece for taco meat, whatever. Also hiding a lot of fat. We could trim that up and do the tricks. We're going to put that in the grind too. Anything goes, she said. There we go. Here too, we're going to save a little bit of meat for the broth. We'll scrape off these bones, get the neck sorted out, and then we'll move on to the rest of this shoulder we got laying there. All right. And it's pretty crazy to see about these animals and the individual difference. And especially here, if it's a juicy yield here, it's scraping the neck. The rapid growth that this guy had. Formidable 411 kilos he grew in 1 year. Again, not going to waste too much time on it. Just get off a little bit. You know, it's not all that much, but totally worth the time. I'm going to put this away. Then we're going to get the rest of the shoulder. We'll just kind of separate these muscles. Inside of here is a piece called the Denver. It's a really good steak. We're not going to focus on it today, but it's there. So here, you get this whole piece here out. So keep in mind then we're shoulder on the backside. Here's the blade. And we got this piece right here, that's the Denver, as far as I understand. And nevertheless, it's a really good piece. But this is also really good meat for the burger or for stew meat, anything of that sort. And we're going to use it for the burger. If you look at here, now we're center of that Denver. You can see all those pockets of fat and all that taste in there. She's not a medium rare kind of gal, but if you cook it perfect, it's such a tasty steak. All right, so that. Okay, so here, there's some exciting stuff here on the backside. The absolute best part of the whole animal hides here, the shoulder tender. It's a very small steak, or it's like a fillet. And it hides here on the side of the main shoulder muscle. And by taking this fat layer off, I sort of expose it. Now I even cut down into it a little bit. And this stuff here, I don't put it in my grind. I know it's a little bit of weight. Here's the main artery. A little bit of blood in there. I'm trying to get that away. Yeah, I don't put this stuff here in my grind. It's pretty much the only part of the whole shoulder that I don't put in there. Anyway, so here's again the backside of the shoulder blade. We can undress all the main meat that's stuck on there. Just to make it even more visual where the shoulder tender lives and hangs out. So then it's this muscle here. And you can get underneath it with your finger. It goes all the way down here. And then just carefully follow the seam. And then there's a little silver skin action up here. And then we got it. Sort of feel the whole thing. There we go. There she is. The beauty. Cut this thing into little steaks. I'm going to show you now. We're going to clean it up. Just going to get this here into the grind bucket. go. All right, so for trimming up that shoulder tender, we get this silver skin off here. It's good to keep a little bit of fat on, but all this stuff here comes off. There we go. Get this little piece here off. And then we square it up. And there she is. Shoulder tender, the absolute favorite on the whole animal. We can move on to second best and next in line on the favorite list. That's the flat iron that lives under here, the big pocket in that shoulder blade. Now, there's many ways to get this blade out. I just kind of like with the weight of the ox and working against physics and doing it laying down like this, I find that the best way to do it is to get at it from the backside here. Just kind of exposing that. So when you're doing it this way, it's important to watch out here, because you can really cut into the flat iron and lose bits and pieces of it. Just loosen that shoulder blade there. Put that aside with these guys. Just kind of get in there, only using the tip of the knife. So these ligaments here, and that's the one that's stuck to the flat iron. This one here continues all the way throughout the shoulder and creates, you know, like this sort of technical cut if you want to enjoy the steakness of it all. Some Fred Flintstone stuff here. Give a dog a bone, or what we're going to do, we're going to take this to the bandsaw and we're going to split it in half and enjoy that marrow. Nature's finest. Put that there. So if you would want to make, you know, a slow cooked roast or even beef jerky, this meat here could be used for beef jerky. It's not as good as the stuff in the back, but and all the rounds, but it does the job. All right, that's the shoulder. Then we got, here's the baby here, the flat iron. So this stuff here is not part of it. Go. There we have that ligament. First we can kind of trim it up here. Don't need all this here. Then the grind guy. Så varmt jeg oppe og svetter i hjelmen. All right, and here, so then you typically just enter along this ligament. That wasn't the best one I've ever done, but it does the trick. And we get the rest of this. So with this cut, I've seen different strokes for different folks. In Argentina, they just take this little piece out. In the States, all of it comes out. And I concur with that. Then we still have that silver skin. So then just like filleting a fish. Have that there. That is one hell of a steak. This one here came out a little bit on the skinny side, however, still beautiful. So you typically get 4 to 6 out of each. So now I have that tendon under here. That off. Not my proudest moment, but this is how much I missed. You keep doing it for this many times and still can't get it right. That's part of the joy, no? This goes into the grind. Just trim that up a little bit. Frickin' touch my flat irons. Okay, so that's 4 flat irons. Shank muscle. This stuff also, not super fond of using it at any point. Just take the time. It's just around the neck. Operational hazard, I guess. Then it's just this shank left, the main part of the shank. Also another great bone to split in half and enjoy nature's finest Kool-Aid, the marrow. So it's about 40% the total weight of the carcass is bones. It's about. That's then all of that hamburger meat from that first quarter. Now we're going to go deal with the tomahawks. We're going to use the luxury of the bandsaw. I'm also going to bring these. So we come back with some soup bones. Here's the cool part where we can decide how long our tomahawks are going to be. Around here. Short ribs would have been here. We're not going to focus on that. We're going to use it for the grind. There we go. I'm going to split this one here in two. And as with every time working with dangerous equipment, just hurry up real slowly. And watch your fingers. So you got that marrow. And you're going to split it. Yummy. Beautiful. Ooh, beauty. Wow, that's loud. But now, all right, so we're back from the saw. Scrape off a little bit of this bone dust. And we're gonna get in get the feather bones off. And here's that extension of the yellow cord. Then peel the membrane. There we go. We get this cap meat. This meat here is also beautiful for stew and slow cooked stuff. This part of Norway, we call it sosakjøtt. Really good now in the winter. Have some hot meat standing around waiting for you. Anyway, this is always exciting. Get out the tomahawks. Vad är det? Hä? Ja, 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 väldigt bra. Yeah, just getting out the meat between the ribs here. I mean, for a real occasion and a real party, who wouldn't want to just roast a whole one of these on the barbecue maybe? In the wood-fired stove, who knows? But it's quite tempting. So we cut the tomahawks. And the bones sort of kind of dictate a little bit where we want to go. Here I'm going to square it off. This was not my idea. This is how it came from the butcher house. A little bit of scrapage here as well. And then, typically I like these two the best. They have the most sort of juice to them. This is towards the Delmonico, this is towards the back strap and the hip. But yeah, they're all really good. Easily one of the favorite cuts of the whole animal. So number one. And there you have number two. See how the loin's getting smaller? Cap meat is getting bigger. Let's see here. Sneak it in there. And here's that old-time favorite. You see there's more fat there on this one. Equals more taste. Let's see here. Use the handsaw just a little bit. Sloppy sloppison over in the bandsaw area. There we go. This one too always comes out real fat. But you see here that this pocket, this little deposit disappears as you get up towards the Delmonico. So this is last guy before Delmonico. Here we got 5 beautiful tomahawks. We can trim them up just a little bit for artistic Personally, I like to keep that meat on for the barbecue. Can go harder at it. But it does look pretty cool, all packaged up with that iconic bone on it for the tomahawk. Kind of feel like steak for dinner today, to be quite honest. Now we're starting to get a little something to show for. And we got this here is a skirt steak. Now, the inside skirt's here. We don't get that from the butcher house here, but the outside skirt is a really cool little steak. Although it's not very much of it left here. It's the same as that flank steak. For the back, has great fibers and great taste. And guess what? We're going to put it in the grind. This little beauty is starting to get dull. There we go. That's better. So really, in the whole process of selling meat, I don't know how it works in different parts of the world, but here in Norway, we have a pretty high acceptance of price on this and that, but the margins on meat versus the costs, it's not all that, but it's all about the grind. Even though it's a low-pain sort of class of the meat, it constitutes a whole lot. From the front part, we're starting to see a picture about, we have a whole lot of grind that has gone through the grinder. That could have been briskets, chuck roasts, and so forth, but these are the prime cuts that sit in the front, minus this. So what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, maybe 6 kilos, maybe 2 kilos, so less than 10 kilos out of 100, that's 10%. And the rest goes to grind here. And in Norway, it is because it's easy to sell. Like I said, people love the burger, and especially a good burger, because now the industrial complex serves, not really always burgers of that same quality, and therefore it's an easy way to go about it. And although we don't really sell broth or anything like that, I do sell some soup bones to people, but I use it a lot myself. And we do cooking for people, hot plates, and then we can use, that the A-grade stuff that we've been standing here vouching for and looking at, and it means a lot. It does. As you guys can see, I have my knife selection. I like the Geyser ones. They're great. But there's many knives. There's no rules, but in general, a little bit of difference here and there. Like a boning knife should be a little bendy. Breaking knife, a little stiffer. The boning knife, very stiff. That's kind of how I taught myself how to work. Because we're all about using this. Instead of mixing in pork, other cuts and meats, don't need to. This amounts to about 20% to 25%. This guy probably 25% is fat. And that makes for a juicy burger, can deal with high temperatures. For all reasons, I try to use most part of the animal, but discolorated and bloody, I don't put it in there. Then we can look over our situation here. We got the discard pile out of 100 kilos. Then we got our soup bones. We got plentiful of ground. And then we got our marrow bones, our flat irons, our shoulder tender, Delmonico, and our 5 tomahawks. Now we're going to move over to the grinder. So we go grinding. It's a pretty simple process. And as you can see, this very small grinder even makes anything go. Like as soon as it goes through this hole, and then it comes out looking like ground beef. Look at this beautiful grind that's coming out. Like, this is full of fat. We mix that together. Typically the meat around the tomahawk and the short rib section is the best burger, in my opinion. If you mix a little bit of chuck, a little bit of brisket in there, now that'd be preferable. However, can't always be that specific. Sometimes we just got to do what we got to do. Beautiful ground beef. I use my 5mm disc. I find that being the right coarseness. You could go down to very little and it'll become much finer. But that wouldn't go well with all this fat, with this little grinder. I'm excited. Burger time. All right, so here's the facilities for packing and sealing. It's a pretty standard chamber vacuum sealer. Nothing spectacular, but she is stable and gets the job done. All right, so now we're going to go into the furthest corner of our production line, the label machine. All right, so last stop in the line there is the label. I got this neat little printer here. It's also great for summing up my work at the end of the day. A lot of steaks in and out. Makes it confusing to do some good business from time to time. At 5.1 kilos of tomahawk coming out of that 1/4. So per 100 kilos of meat, there's 5.1 kilos of tomahawk on this animal. Here we go, and we had 1.4 kilos of flat iron. That's about 3 pounds for you Yankees. This steak here is that special that out of 411 kilos of meat, you would get about 1.02 kilos of shoulder tender. It's not very much. Maybe that's why it's so good. All right, so here we have it. Steaks from the front part, shoulder tender, flat iron, and the tomahawks. We could have had the brisket, we could have had the chuck roast. They're in the grind, and now these are going in the freezer to live with the rest of the grind that's in there already. That was about 50 kilos of grind and 15 kilos of steak.